All right, we'll walk around holding by the Book of Leviticus Chapter 17 again. We're walking around still holding by the Book of Leviticus Chapter 17. We are still in verse 14. Torah says, Kinefesh, Kobasar, Damo Benafsho, Veomer B'nei Yisrael, Dam Kobasar, Lo Sochelu, Kinefesh Kobasar, Damohi, Ko Oichlov Yikari. So here, again, Torah says that for the life of all flesh is blood, right? Blood expiates for the soul. Therefore, I said to the children of Israel, do not eat the blood of any flesh, for the life of all flesh is the blood. Whoever eats it shall be cut off. So again, we're speaking about the fact that it's forbidden for a Jew, certainly for a Jew to eat blood, right? Torah states clear. I said unto the children of Israel, right? We made that clear a number of times. And if you eat blood, if a Jew eats blood, he gets spiritually cut off, right? That is what the verse says. So we're speaking the last number of weeks, this Or Chaim HaKadosh, and the Or Chaim HaKadosh here says, we mentioned about the Kisei Kavod, right? God's heavenly throne, and now you have, the, four corners of the throne, right? You have man's face, you have a lion, a shore, an ox, and you have an eagle, right? So we talked about the strength of the Kisei Kavod and corresponds also four different angels, right? That we spoke about also. But one thing, so we mentioned actually last week that that God takes every soul, right, soul of and sticks it into a person, and obviously God knows what He's doing, right? We're not in charge of, our parents, our siblings, our socioeconomic situation. The Mishnah Pirkei Avos says, I'll get there once. We're about 97. That says over there that you're born against your will, you die against your will, right? So you're not in control. So Kaufman would say, in parentheses, you still have to live. Very good. Right, very good over here. So he's talking about the fact that soul goes in the body, and people reach potential, and God knows what potential they need to reach, so He sticks with a certain body. So another thing here he mentions, is this influence, this spiritual influence. Right? Again, you have an ox, which is a pure animal, right? That also gives off in heaven spiritual influence, right? Whatever that means. You got domesticated animal, right? Smaller animals, birds, yeah, that you don't see they necessarily have that type of influence. But he says, let's understand over here. Obviously, there's a difference between a kosher animal and non-kosher animal, right? Kosher animal are not carnivores. They don't trap animals. They don't go after other animals. They don't hunt after, let's say, other animals. You have impure animals, right? You have animals that do just that. They have to have certain signs, obviously, that they are kosher. And if they don't possess those signs, we cannot eat them. And also, there could be certain types of animals that may have the signs, but we're not sure, right? We're not sure whether we have a tradition on them or not, right? So certain types of maybe chicken would be like that. So other things may be like that as well. But one thing just keep in mind is that we don't eat anything. Jews, let's say better, Jews do not eat anything that we don't have a clear-cut tradition. Right? If we don't have a clear-cut tradition, we don't do it. Right? We don't we don't do it. We don't eat it. We don't use it. Tzitzis is a good example. There are people that feel that we have the, tchelis, that bowstring, that some people wear, because the Torah says you have to wear, a Jew has to wear tzitzis and has to have a thread of what we call tchelis. Tchelis, blue type color. So tchelis comes from the chilazon. Quite exactly what the chilazon was. A certain type. Some say it was snails. Others say it was a fish. Right? Not so clear. But there are people that would claim and have proof for the fact that we know they know what it is, right? They know what the right one is, and because they know that what the right fish is, they can make this dye, right? They can make this dye. So they will wear it, and they'll say there's no problem, right? It's no problem. Now we'll make it a little more interesting, and that is, let's say for these tzitzis, let's say that even if it's the wrong one, even let's say this, this fish or snail or whatever it is, they don't have the right one. So the dye they're making is not the right one, right? Let's say it's not the right one. Now, even if it's not the right one, it comes out according to halacha, it does not nullify the beged, right? It does not nullify the tzitzis themselves. In other words, even if it's the wrong one, okay, right? You got the wrong one, but it doesn't nullify the mitzvah. You don't get the mitzvah of tchelis because essentially it's not the right one. But also, you don't nullify the mitzvah of tzitzis. So a person would say, okay, if it's the right one, then when a Jew wears it, they get the mitzvah wearing tchelis. If it's not the right one, then it doesn't nullify the mitzvah. You still get the mitzvah of tzitzis, right? So in that case, where it doesn't really harm, right? It doesn't really harm over here because essentially it doesn't nullify the mitzvah. So if it doesn't nullify the mitzvah, why not wear it? I mean, the other side claims they have enough proof that it is the real thing. Okay. Yeah, it's not clear cut, right? Vast majority of people do not wear it, right? Do not wear tchelis. But even so, the argument could be, everyone tell me it's the wrong one, and you got proofs against it, very good. But if it's the right one, if it's the wrong one, you don't lose anything. You don't lose anything over here. So if you don't lose anything, why not do it? On the side that it's the right one. Right? If it's the right one, all the more so. So then you are fulfilling the Torah command of wearing tchelis with tzitzis. Okay. So what's the answer? So the answer is, as my Rebbe would say, it's not clear. Right? It's not clear. Yeah. Therefore, if it's not clear, even though you'll tell me it doesn't nullify the mitzvah, so my Rebbe would say, even if it doesn't nullify the mitzvah, you don't start doing things we don't have a clear-cut tradition on. That's the halacha. People say, but come on, it comes with, rabbinic supervision, this and that. Okay, but if it's not the right one, not everyone agrees it's the right one. Vast majority agrees it's not the right one. So therefore, if you don't have a clear-cut tradition, which in this case we don't, then you can't do it. 100% you can't do it because you don't have a clear-cut tradition. Again, the other side would say, but you don't lose anything. You only gain if it is the right one. Yeah, but if it's not, and it's something that it's not clear-cut, it's not across the board, 100%, everyone agrees. Right? They say, well, nothing's clear-cut. But, there's plenty of halacha that we do. So even if there's difference of opinion of how certain things are done, okay, there's clear-cut halacha what we do. So in this case, not clear-cut. Totally not clear-cut here. So if it's not clear-cut, we don't do things that don't have a tradition on it. Even if you don't lose out, that's the point, right? Even if you don't lose out. Because the other side will say, you don't lose out, what's the big deal? Because we don't have a tradition. It's not clear you have a tradition. So if it's not clear you have a tradition, they can't do it, right? That's the idea of, that's the idea of tefillas, and the idea that basically, anything we don't have a clear-cut tradition on. We don't do turkey. We have a tradition on, right? Vast majority of people across the spectrum eat it, right? They'll eat turkey, not a problem. Why isn't it a problem? We have a tradition. We have a tradition, turkey's kosher. Right? But again, not all birds, even if they meet the criteria, necessarily kosher. I mean, there's plenty what to eat from, besides chicken. You got, duck you could eat, Cornish hen, many would eat. Right? There is a variety, of, birds you can eat. Okay. But at the end of the day, not every one of them fits the criteria because we don't necessarily have a tradition on it. So there was a number of years ago, there was a chicken they wanted to bring in. It's called a brackle chicken or brakel chicken that they wanted to, slaughter here in Israel. So the whole question, the whole controversy or controversy, depending how you want to pronounce it, the whole controversy whether it's kosher or not. Because they come on, chicken's a chicken, right? So there was a difference of opinion among rabbinic authorities today, whether it's kosher or not. Some said yes, some said no. So my Rebbe said, okay, where do these chickens come from? And they came from, I think a lot of them come from, I think from Turkey, I think that area. But, the question was, and that's what he wanted to clarify, were these chickens eaten by the Jewish community? By the Orthodox community. If they're eaten by the Orthodox community, okay. Right? So then you see that what? That we had tradition, they ate it. Right? If they didn't eat it, if the Orthodox community didn't eat it, then how can you eat it? Why? So the question is, why did they eat it? Same way now, there wasn't kosher. Right? So not all chicken is the same. Right? I would say, there are, varieties of chicken that you don't have an issue with. Some might be an issue in this case because you don't have a clear-cut tradition. Right? It's not a clear-cut tradition. Some say there is. Some say people in that community did eat it. So, question is whether you can rely on that or not. Some want to say yes, some say no. But again, it comes down to the same question, right? It's not necessary. Okay, chicken's a chicken, right? It really doesn't matter. So you be able to eat it anyway. That's not the case. If it's clear, meets the criteria, and people in that community ate it, okay, right? Then that shouldn't be an issue, right? If they ate it, and if they didn't eat it, why didn't they eat it? Right? Why didn't they eat it? Why didn't they eat it? So most likely they didn't eat it because they didn't have a tradition on it. Or they had a tradition that wasn't kosher. Let's say better. There was a tradition that it wasn't kosher. So if it wasn't kosher, not going to eat it. So that's what I would say about that. So again, bottom line, things that we have a tradition on, so we can eat. Plenty of things to eat. Things we don't have a tradition on, we're not going to take the chance. Maybe we don't have a tradition on. There are some people that, spent a long, long time, years, going through some of these birds. Pheasant. Can you eat pheasant? Other types of birds also. There are people into this that, exotic birds, let's say, whether we have a tradition on them or not. Okay. If you find out, you looked into it, you researched it, when it comes out, that's permissible to eat. Okay, so you got more to eat. Another type of bird to eat. Okay. I mean, there are, there are some people into this that, they want to research it. They want to see, you know, they're not necessarily testing the bounds, of Jewish law. I want to see, like, does it fit the criteria? Doesn't fit the criteria? You know, some people would say, come on, like, why waste time here? You have more time to learn. Why, okay. So people like to eat. Very good. They like to eat. So they want to see if this fight, if this fits the criteria. And if it fits the criteria, why shouldn't you eat it? Yeah, it makes sense. I would think I would think more things better to do with your time, than that, since you have an abundance of kosher meat and kosher birds to eat. But, people want to research that and spend time doing it. Okay. So that's one thing. Right, that's one thing. Obviously, again, difference between kosher animal and a non-kosher animal. It's said before, non-Jews are not going to eat, kosher animals. Even people say, hey, come on, they're clean animals. Why shouldn't we eat them? And the answer is because it doesn't affect them, right? Non-kosher animals do not affect a non-Jew. We mentioned this many times, right? So a non-Jew is not going to do something that has no meaning for them, right? Because Kliyakar says in Leviticus chapter 10, when it talks about kosher animals, it says that a non-Jew, you see that they eat all kinds of things, creepy crawly things and all that, and it doesn't affect them, right? Maybe except for the bats and wooing, but it doesn't affect them. Very good. If it doesn't affect them, then why would they do it? Because a non-Jew is not going to do something that has no meaning, right? They're going to do something that's universal. It's not universal. Yeah, so there's another thing here. Here he was talking about influence, heavenly influence. Yeah, I'm going to have, heavily influenced by non-kosher animal. Right? That's a good question. Right, exactly how that is going to play out. But one thing without going into all that and Kabbalistic aspects of what he brings out over here. One thing that I wanted to mention, which Ramchal speaks about in Derech Hashem, right, in the way of God, he says every action a person does has an effect, right? Every action, every action has a reaction. So therefore, what a person does when they do it, God's going to judge it, right? For what he did, what he said. Right? In other words, what did he do? What did a person do? He did an action, right? Essentially, he did an action. And what did that action do? That action has an effect. Gets judged, right? It gets judged for what he did. Meaning, what was his intention when he did this action, whether it was good or bad? Where was he holding at the time? Not, again, what his future potential is. Where is he holding right now? What was his intention? So at that split second, when the person does it, whatever it is, whether it's a transgression or it is or it's a mitzvah, right? There are different levels here, different levels of the transgression, different levels how they did the mitzvah. Now, at that split second, the person did it, right? It's really hard to explain in words, but at that split second, the person does the action. God now judges that, looks at it in physical terms and in spiritual terms. And according to God's infinite wisdom, so then there will be repercussions, either good or bad, for what the person did. Right? So again, it's kind of hard to explain in physical terms. We obviously understand, right? In physical terms, if a person, does the wrong thing, there are repercussions. Let's say, God forbid, a woman who's pregnant smokes crack, her kid comes out deformed. Is it the kid's fault? No, kid's not judged, right? Underage. There's judgment by a person over the age of 12 or 13 or up until the age of 20. So it's not the kid's fault, but there's a reality. What's the reality? You do this can be the repercussion. So too, a person, a Jew with someone they're not allowed to be, they have a child, right? A forbidden relationship. They have a child's a mamzer, right? Called a bastard child, a mamzer, right? The child that comes from a forbidden relationship. From that forbidden relationship, there are consequences. What's the consequences? What are the spiritual consequences? That child can only marry someone of the same union, right? Or a convert. Now, why a convert? People say, oh, come on, second-class citizen. Why converts degraded over here? Because what's the problem over here? Problem is, can't marry a Jew. Can't marry a regular born Jew. Why? Because that Jew has a pedigree. That pedigree, that soul's on Mount Sinai. It's got a pedigree. About the same as a non-Jew. So therefore, you don't want to start with the pedigree. But a non-Jew doesn't have pedigree. Doesn't matter if their soul was on Mount Sinai and they got messed up through assimilation or intermarriage. Doesn't really matter. The fact is they don't have pedigree. Their genealogy is flawed. Flawed, right? That's just the way it is. It's flawed. So if it's flawed, then a convert can marry them. Someone will say, come on, a non-Jew that converts, it has the status of what we call a katan shenolad dummy, a newborn child, right? They have the status like a newborn child. So they have the status of a newborn child. Don't we erase everything they did before? True. But again, the source of their soul. So even if it comes from Mount Sinai, I got messed up now. How a Jewish soul becomes non-Jewish and then goes back, that's a good question, right? That's Kabbalah 101 or 101A. But bottom line is it can change. How it works, good question, right? But it can change. So if that's true, right? If that's true, there's a blemish. There's already a blemish by this convert in certain ways. So if there's a blemish, then a convert can marry a mamzer. Why? Because again, there's an issue of genealogy. Now, because there's an issue of genealogy, very good. So what do I have over here? Spiritual repercussions. We also understand a person makes a blessing on an apple, let's say. Let's make a Bray Prayer 8. Jew makes a Bray Prayer 8 on an apple. It has the influence, you don't see it, but it has spiritual influence, of all of the fruit-bearing trees. So when a person does something, it has repercussions. It has repercussions in this world, can potentially have repercussions in the next world, right? In the spiritual world. Now, all the spiritual worlds, again, person's going to say, I'm an infinitesimally small speck of cosmic dust, right? Grew up in a town, in a city, right? In a state, right? In a country, continent, planet, galaxy, right? We're getting much smaller. Person's infinitesimally small speck of cosmic dust. They're going to say, come on, what I do doesn't matter. What does it really matter? Right? A person says something badly against someone else, even if everyone knows it. They're like, come on, everyone knows it. I'm really going to cause the person damage? You could, in theory. So that I could understand. You did something. It caused someone damage direct. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. That I can understand. Now, if in that case, let's say a person did something, has an effect. It could be a good effect, could be a bad effect. We don't see the far-reaching repercussions. Okay. But what a person does matters, right? Nefesh Chaim says, famous student of the Vilna Gaon, Rav Chaim of Volozhin, brings down the beginning of Nefesh Chaim, literally the soul of life. And he says, don't think your actions don't matter. And he goes into detail, right? In third or fourth chapter there, right? A lot of people don't, we're in the first three gates. A lot of it very much thinks in Kabbalah, but very simple. Adam and Eve eat from the tree of life. Eat from the tree of knowledge. Tree of knowledge, because they ate from it, caused death to the world, right? Death, not a Jewish concept. They brought death to the world. They didn't just mess up the world. And the fact that a person has to die in order that they get atonement. Now, death does not mean a full atonement. It's maybe a partial atonement, but certainly not a full atonement. A person may have to suffer in this world and the next world, be that as it may. Nonetheless, what do I have over here? They did an action that has repercussions for eternity. Physical repercussions, spiritual repercussions. Spiritual repercussions are, says Chaim of Volozhin, that tree of knowledge had all the spiritual worlds inside of it. Now all the spiritual worlds get messed up. So how do you fix up the spiritual worlds? By doing mitzvahs. How do you keep them messed up? By doing transgression. Right? So obviously you want to strengthen these spiritual worlds, get these spiritual worlds back in line, just like it was at the time of creation. Only one other time in history that they were back in line, and that was when? That was by giving the Torah. Giving the Torah on Mount Sinai. Then Mr. S says, wait a minute, if the Jewish people are going to be on this high level, they've already gone back to what the world looked like before Adam and Eve ate from the tree. So what does he do? He shows them a vision of Moshe Rabbeinu in a coffin. He says, oh, Moshe died. He made a mistake, and when he was coming back, sent the golden calf, brought the world back to where it was, and we're still stuck there. Right? We're still stuck there until the Messiah comes. But that's one action. So that's spiritual repercussion, serious spiritual repercussion. What about physical repercussion? Now, what did Adam do? What was his thought process when he ate from the tree? The thought process was like this. He said, if I eat from the tree, what's that going to do? Right? If I eat from the tree, I am going to take evil, put it inside myself. Now, if you put evil inside of yourself, so his calculation was, if I do the right thing, right? If a person, let's say they do the right thing, so exponentially, their soul gains. They elevate the body, they elevate the soul. Right? Remember, it's constant battle between body and soul. Body wants to go after the physical world. The soul wants to go over things spiritual. So you got to feed it with Torah and mitzvahs. Very good. So if you give in to the soul and you do the right thing, good. So then you elevate the body, you elevate the soul. If you do the wrong thing, exponentially, you debase the body, you debase the soul. So his calculation was that you can gain spiritually exponentially. In other words, you do the right thing, you overcome your evil inclination, then spiritually speaking, you just elevate yourself, multiplied by infinity, right? Unbelievable. You do the wrong thing, it does the opposite. Right? It has the opposite effect. Comes along God himself, and God tells him, you're a heretic. You're an abikoros. You're a heretic. Why? Now, God might have agreed. That he did the right, that he had the right idea. But the idea he didn't disagree with. Exponentially you could gain or not gain, right? Depending on what you did. Right? Either you go in the right path, exponentially the wrong path. So it can have serious repercussions either way. But God said, why is it called an abikoros? The greatest of creation. Greatest of God's creation. Why does he call him a heretic? He calls him a heretic one very simple reason. And the reason he calls him a heretic is because he said, I didn't tell you to do that. I gave you one mitzvah. Had you listened to what I said, you would have gone in paradise, Garden of Eden, everything would have been good. That would have been the end of the world, and that's it. But God had to go to plan B. Now, doesn't God understand this plan B? Could be a plan B, sure. God knows past, present, future. He knows man could sin. Okay. He knows man can sin. But everybody got punished in that. Remember, snake gets punished, even though he's got food the rest of his life, gets his legs cut off. So what's the punishment? Because he'll never pray to God. He'll never have anything. Right? He'll have food the whole rest of his life. God doesn't eat him. He just throws him away. Yeah. Women get punished because she gave him to eat. So Eve gets punished, and all women, right, through childbearing and difficulty of childbearing and difficulty raising kids. And Adam gets punished for eating because then God says you're going to have to work by the sweat of your brow. right? You're not going to be given everything. You have to work. Livelihood, you're going to have to work. So everybody gets punished. So God says, okay, I understand you had the right intention. You had the right intention, but the problem is, I didn't tell you to do that. I didn't want you to do that, but now that you did that, okay, the world's going to look different. World's going to look different. But he didn't disagree, with his reasoning. His reasoning was true, right? If you overcome the evil inclination, you fight against the evil inclination. Guess what? You're going to be at a much higher level by overcoming it and overcoming difficulties. Very good. At the same time, it could be worse the other way. But in either case, even if it may be true, God says, I didn't tell you to do it. I didn't want you to do it. See, we got a problem today, or some people, let's say, have a problem today. They want to reinvent the wheel. They think they know better. They think they know better. So what happens? You can have disaster. Disaster. Even if I would agree, which I don't, but even if I would agree that people can pick and choose whatever mitzvahs they want to do, even if they can do that, show me that it works. Show me that you have a next generation can pass Judaism down. If you have, if you have 60, 70% intermarriage rates, assimilation rate, and all that, disaster. Even if you tell me there are people coming back, Jews, secular Jews coming back to Judaism, or people converting, but you're losing, in the early 2000s, did a study. The study showed that we were losing 35,000 Jews. 35,000 Jews a year to assimilation and intermarriage. 35,000, probably double that now, right? It's probably much higher now. But how many people come back to Judaism or convert, every year? 1,000, if you're lucky. 5,000 will be very generous there. You're losing, tremendous amount more. So if you're going to tell me I want to reinvent the wheel, I know better. And I've seen this a number of times. I know better. What's the end result going to be? The result will be a disaster, right? There was a story. Someone was on a plane. I think I told the story weeks back. Still a good story. That someone was on a plane. And this guy's like, this rabbi was learning, and this guy keeps like picking over, looking over his shoulder, right? It's a black person and whatever. So finally, he's like, oh, what are you reading? So he says, I'm learning whatever. I was learning Chumash, learning Tanakh, whatever. It's on this flight, and so anyway, whatever. They start talking. And so he asked him, like, what's your name? He said, Shah. It's like, oh, figured he didn't want to tell him, so whatever. So they're having this, they're having this conversation, and he showed him he had a tattoo, right? He had a tattoo. I forget what whatever. It was a verse in the Torah, right? I forget what the verse was, but whatever. He had this tattoo, so he asked him. He's like, you Jewish? And he said no. But he said, what's the reason for this tattoo? And he told him a story that his father told. Right? And his father, whatever, basically didn't make any sense. The story that he told him didn't make any sense. This is what the rabbi says. He said, this doesn't make any sense at all. And he says, listen, my father's still alive. If you want to speak to him here, I'll give you his number. So anyway, after they land, they part ways. He's got this number. He calls him up. So he says, yeah. He said it's a long, terrible story. So he said, okay, so what's the story? So the story was, this person was a top student the father was a top student in the Ponevezh Yeshiva, right? It's one of the top yeshivas in Bnei Brak, Bnei Brak today. And he was very close to the head of the yeshiva, Rav Shach, blessed memory. Very close. And whatever, he was going there for many years. And married, had a whole bunch of kids. He's having difficulty supporting his family. So he told him he wanted permission to go, to learn during the day and work at night. Had this job, set up, and to work at night. So Shach, told him, it shouldn't be a problem. But then he told him another part of the, another part of the story. For this job, he said, I'm going to be there, working late hours, right, late at night. And in this office, wherever he works, there's a woman that comes and cleans. So he says, is that a problem? Is that an issue? Now, he's the only one there. So a Jew cannot be alone with with a woman, right? A man can't be alone with a woman, or vice versa. If it's late at night, if no one's coming in, no one's around, right? That's a problem. So Rav Shach said, also, can't do it. Forbidden. You cannot do it. He says, you understand, it's very hard for me, making a living. I have, all these little kids and whatever. So Rav Shach opened the Shulchan Aruch, opened up a code of Jewish law. Rav Shach showed him the halacha, where it's forbidden for a man to be alone with a woman. I mean, listen, there are leniencies, but in general, it's forbidden, right? It's forbidden. Again, someone not their spouse or whatever, right? It's forbidden. So he said, come on, is there any leniency? Isn't there this? And Rav Shach screamed at him. Rav Shach told him, what do you think? The rabbis don't know what they're doing? You think you know better? You want to reinvent the wheel? He said, this is what the halacha is, forbidden. It's forbidden. So what happened? He did it anyway. Said he need the money. Come on, what connection am I going to have? This person says. What connection am I going to have with this, with this woman who cleans, right? The black woman that cleans. Like what connection? What connection in the world? I'll be busy doing my work. She'll be cleaning, and that's it. Never the two shall meet. Well, like he wasn't happily married, right? Doesn't seem like that's part of the story. So anyway, he takes his job, and he's working. And whatever, they speak a little bit, this and that. And as you can imagine, they, whatever, he starts up a relationship with this woman, leaves his wife, marries this woman, right? Marries this woman. And they have a child. And then who's this child? The person on the plane. The black person on the plane. Right? So yeah, but, I don't understand. What was his name? I didn't understand what his name was. So he told him, so when he named him Shach, as in Rav Shach. But some people have problems pronouncing the ha, right? The cha sound. So he can never pronounce it, he just said Shah. So my name is Shah. So Shah means be quiet or whatever, but his real name was Shach from this whole story. So what's the point? This guy thought, he's smarter than the rabbis. Right? Rav Shach said, no. Rav Shach said, this is what the rabbis tell us, 100%. We have to believe what they say. We have to take their word face value. They know much more than we do. Much more than we do. And people belittle them. People say, come on, the rabbi said, you really think two people are going to be alone? Something's going to happen? Well, something could happen. Yeah, nobody's perfect. Temptation, the evil inclination runs wild. It's the greatest urge a person has. So he's like, come on, a short amount of time, this, that. This guy's like, come on. What connection would I have? He's sitting learning day and night in this yeshiva. Day and night. This guy's learning, he's got a family, He's got a big, whatever. He's got a big family. Like, what connection am I going to have to this non-Jew? Right? What connection am I going to have to this black woman? What connection? It doesn't matter if she's black, Chinese, Puerto Rican, doesn't matter. Right? What connection am I going to have with this non-Jew? I'm going to be there working. She'll be clean. Like, what's the big deal? Roshach screamed at him. And Roshach told him, we don't know more than the rabbi. If they say it's forbidden, they know a lot more than we do. A lot more than we do. So you want to say, I'm smarter, we're more advanced, we're this, we're that. Come on, so of that generation, maybe, I don't know. Whatever this person thought. The Eitzahar got him. The evil inclination got him. And this is what happened. It's what happened. So what's the point? What's the point? Because this person, no different than Adam, right? He's going to reinvent the wheel. It's going to say, come on. It's not going to affect me. I'm sitting here learning day and night. Or day and afternoon, whatever. I'm just doing this because I need to make money. Okay. Right? But the Gemara says forbidden. Can't be alone with a woman. Again, there are certain leniencies here and there, but in general, it's forbidden. 100% forbidden. Come on. What connection am I going to have? What's going to be? I need the money. Okay. And it doesn't mean what he did was right. And that's why Roshach screamed at him. Roshach said, don't think you can reinvent the wheel. Don't think you know more than than the rabbis do. And I hear this all the time, or I see it all the time. People think, come on, you really think that's what it means? I had someone tell me last week, come on. You really think person has a great Shabbos, there's death penalty. I said, even if no one got killed. Right? The Gemara, the Mishnah at the end of first chapter of Makkah says, if the Sanhedrin, the Jewish Supreme Court, killed once in 7 years, or once in 70 years, it was considered a bloody court. So then why start saying death penalty here, death penalty there? Because it's very severe. Certain things are very severe. You get death penalty. And you get spiritually cut off. It's like, oh, come on, really? Like, this person was trying to tell me, like, I'll fit my life into Shabbos. Oh, I can't take off time. I said, you could if you wanted to. You make it work. No, job wanted you. You don't fit your life into Shabbos. Shabbos is your life. You want to be a Jew. That's it. So, what are you going to do on Friday? Shabbos comes in at 4 o'clock. I just saw like in England, Shabbos comes in at like 3:53. Right, comes in early. So you gotta say, but the boss won't let me leave. Figure it out. Maybe you have to find another job. Right? You work on Sunday, whatever. That's what a person has to do. You don't fit your life into Shabbos. So I go, if it's convenient, I'll do it. If it's not convenient, I won't do it. But like, why do you think it says so many times, don't desecrate Shabbos? And was on the phone that long, talk about the importance of Shabbos. That wasn't the point. Right? But they were like belittle it. Like, come on. Oh, I could never do that. Oh, my husband can never do that. Or my significant other would, can never do that. Could if you wanted to. Not a question. It can't. Can't find another job. If you want to be a Jew, it's what you got to do. Not about convenience. You have fewer Orthodox Jews in the world from the so-called other movements. They don't want to be inconvenienced. Not they don't believe it's true. They may say, come on, you really think this is what it means? The rabbis interpret it and this and that, whatever. Why don't they do? Why don't they do? They don't want to. Why don't they want to? They don't have to change their lives. They don't have to be subservient to anybody, i.e. to God. They don't want to do that. They want to live their lives the way they want to. Okay. It's about inconvenience. I have told over the years, finally I just said, just admit you don't keep because you don't want to be inconvenienced. Don't tell me you think it means this, you think it means that, and I did my research and blah, blah, blah. Just say I don't want to be inconvenienced. Because they said it. They admit it. Okay, just be honest. Don't make up all this other stuff. Oh, no. Do you really believe everyone should be Orthodox? Someone told me last week. Yeah. It's happened until 200 years ago, 250 years ago, everybody was. They took power away from the rabbis, so that's what happened. Right? And then everything spiraled out of control after that. Right? But I said up until 200 years ago, 250 years ago, everyone was the same. These movements are only a couple 100 years old. And they don't work. Right? But going back to Mount Sinai, okay, you had some people left the fold. Okay. You had people who did idolatry, did other things, very good. Yeah. But again, there was only Torah. That was it. There's only quote unquote Orthodoxy. That's all there was. That's all there should have been. Right? Everything else is a travesty of a mockery of a shame. Where do you see? And this is what I asked this person, but really didn't care. But I said, where's the Torah say I can do what I want? Where does it say I can pick and choose? It doesn't say that. Because you can't add or subtract to the Torah. Okay. Right? Moses says, and God says you trust whatever Moses says. And he says that in front of 3 million people. So what do you want? Well, but what do people want in the end? They want to do what they want. And I would always say, if a person could show that it works at any level, if they could show it works, okay, we can have a discussion. Short discussion. But we can have a discussion. The rabbis knew what they were talking about. Even more than 2,000 years ago. So you're going to say, come on, you're just being brainwashed and you're not being taught how to think. I don't know, it's people pretty great. They understood a lot more than we do. The Rambam, Maimonides wrote a whole number of chapters about sanctifying the moon. They had like precise calculations. When the moon wanes this way and it waxes and whatever. You have computers, other things, figure it out. Rambam was also a doctor, so he could tell you, okay, this medicinal plan, take this for this, this sickness, that sickness. So you ask a GP, right, general practitioner. Ask him, I have this, I have that, or whatever. What do I, they'll tell you, take this, take that. You ask him why. So I don't know, this is what works. This medicine works. There might be side effects, but this medicine works for that. Now you might have someone with holistic medicine. They may tell you, they may understand why certain things are good for this and against that, and from the medicinal properties of plants. Okay, yeah, you have plenty of them. You have plenty of them out there, even though probably, you got people that are doctors that are like only hold according to what their medical books say. They won't go outside that. Some of them more, some of them less. Rigid, let's say, but there is what to be said, for these other things that they know. They know certain medicinal properties and what should work, not work, whatever. Well, Rambam, you're talking more than 800-900 years ago that he had this information. He was a doctor of the Sultan of the King. That's why he got stuck in Egypt, right? But in general, he had different level of knowledge. Because the Rambam was medieval. Yeah, he was in his time. Not medieval in the sense that, he's backwards and this and that. Look at the knowledge he had. Unbelievable knowledge. So you won't even, you ask a doctor, why does this medicine work? They're not going to answer you. They may answer you. Yeah. So I guess, get all this experience, all this knowledge. Like, come on, why does this medicine work? Because it works. This is what you take. This is what you do. Now, there will be some doctors that will know. Okay. But if you're talking 700-800 years ago or more, that they had that type of knowledge, you say, they're medieval. Yeah, but they know a heck of a lot more. A heck of a lot more than we do. Even though we got supercomputers, we can look up everything, Rabbi Dr. Google, get all our answers, very good. Yeah. But he had everything's fingertip. Also knew secular philosophy, which, the Vilna Gaon said might have taken him away. In certain ways, might have led him astray in certain ways. But, he wrote the Moreh Nevuchim, Guide for the Perplexed, giving potential reasons for the mitzvahs, because people were going astray, secular philosophy, Aristotle, Socrates, and all that. So, people think today, like, we're much smarter. We're much smarter than those previous generations. But if you see what these previous generations produced, how great these minds were without all the knowledge we have today. They didn't have the same knowledge we have today. It's a lot easier to get knowledge today. Very good. Yeah. They figured it out themselves. I mean, obviously God helped them, but still. So what's the point here? I see a bunch of questions there. We'll deal with them. The point is, reinventing the wheel does not necessarily make it better. Thinking you know better, you're going to say, oh, come on, God said this, rabbis say that, different things, I'm going to do what I want. I think I know better than all of them. Heard people say it. They think they're God's gift to the world. They know better than the Creator. Okay. When a person thinks that, they'll get nowhere. They'll absolutely get nowhere. Just prove it. The more you veer off, the worse it is. And we see that by these quote unquote so-called other movements. That's what we see. All right, let me deal with some questions here. Somebody asks, let me see. Somebody asks, let's start here. Is there a heaven by the name of Ramah? Don't know. What is the reason behind the exiles of the children of Israel in the four corners of the earth? One potential reason is the fact that why did Jews have to be spread out? Well, it's part of punishment also. Definitely part of the punishment, right? Because one of the miracles of the Jewish people is the fact that you see that, for 2,000 years they didn't have their own land. The fact they were spread out all over the world, right? And they came back to the land, and wherever you go, anywhere in the world, you should find Jews that practice them. It's why Chabad's all over the place, right? So it could be Jews are spread out because they, just like the Jews in the desert, right? There are 40 stations in the desert where the Jews came and encamped, right? If you look in the book of Numbers, right? You go through all the encampments. Why do they have to go? Cloud came, the cloud left. They had to get up. They had to stay. Why to all these different places, right? So it's brought down. There were certain sparks, certain hidden sparks there that Jews had to go to these places, take out the holiness of these places. Why? Good question, right? Good question. But one of the reasons is that's what they had to do. They had to go there, there was some holiness, whatever, they had to dig it, they had to bring out. That's why they had to be there. So same thing. Jews go all over the world. And you see, they have an influence wherever they go. It could be a negative influence also, but you don't see it by other people. Certainly spread out all over. You certainly don't see it by any other nation. But you see that when Jews are spread out all over the world, you see they have an influence. Hopefully a positive influence. You see that Jews in every place in the world, seemingly, unfortunately, if they don't have Torah, we spoke about this last week. If they don't have Torah, they're like the cream of the crop in other things, right? Cream of the crop in, science, math, all kinds of other things. Yeah. So based on that, they have to have an influence, right? Even though we're 1/1000th of the world's population or smaller, right? We're a very small percentage here. The fact that we're spread out all over the world, there are places Jews have to be, right? Take, whatever level of holiness that's there in the place. They have to go there to show their influence. They have influence there. Why? Why did God pick all these places? Good question, but he picked all over the world. And you see, Jews are successful wherever they go. Wherever they go. Doesn't mean, doesn't mean religiously, obviously, but you see, in other ways, they're also successful. But the point is, that there must be something in these places that they have to be there to have some sort of influence on. That'll be something. So, in spiritual terms, it could be there are sparks there that Jews have to be there. And Jews have to get there to somehow take these sparks out or whatever. Somebody asked, what if non-Jews develop a culture in their society, which only allows eating kosher animals and foods? So what? That's the culture. So be vegetarian. Who says you have to eat it? Who says you have to eat it? Again, if a person eats it, the point of the Kli Yakar is that if a person eats it, it doesn't have an effect on them. if a non-Jew eats it. Yeah. Now, is anyone putting a gun to your head to say eat it or die? I don't think so. And even if that would be the case, they could eat it. It's not a problem. The only question is, they're not doing it because they're doing it like Jews do. People say, I only want to eat clean animals. Well, why do you want to eat clean animals? Because Jews do. You're not mocking Jews here. That's the whole point. Yeah. So even if a culture would say, yeah, you got to eat it, well, you could eat it. Otherwise, you'd be vegetarian. It doesn't have an effect. Right? You're not eating it because you want to be closer to God. That's not the case. It's a cultural thing. Okay, so eat it. But is it going to have the same spiritual effect that will on a Jew? No. It doesn't affect the non-Jew. Doesn't affect it. One second. Somebody asks. Pigs are friendly too. Maybe another reason not to eat them. Who cares if they're friendly or not? Doesn't matter whether they're friendly or not. Right? What does the Torah say? You don't eat them. Right? Even though it's got one symbol. It's got one kosher symbol. Right? What are the two symbols that make it non-kosher? That it doesn't chew its cud and doesn't have split hooves. So it's got one thing. Right? Some say that, in the future, pigs going to change. Right? It's going to be a kosher animal. So the question is, how can that be? Right? That's the whole discussion, how exactly that could be. Because, an animal's not going to change its nature. Right? In general. So if an animal's not going to change its nature, how's it going to go from being non-kosher to kosher? Right? So, it's really like a metaphor, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to change its, it's going to change its, it's going to become kosher all of a sudden. Right? Doesn't mean that. So the point here is, the Torah says don't eat it. The Torah doesn't explain why. Right? There's no rational explanation. Yeah, it just says you're not allowed to eat it. And people think, well, if you think about a pig and what it does and how it lives, kind of a disgusting animal, right? But nonetheless, that's not the reason, right? Torah doesn't give a reason. It's a decree. Torah says don't eat these animals. I mean, it's also proof that God must have given the Torah to Moses because, there are only certain animals that have one sign and not the other. Right? You have certain types of rabbit. You have pig. You have camel. We have a handful of animals like that. So, just as a side point, this would be proof that God must have written the Torah, because how would Moses know that? I mean, Moses had gone all over the world to make that classification, right? So too by fish, because the Torah says any fish that has scales and fins is going to be a kosher fish. Well, how do you know that? 70% of the world is water, right? I mean, it's going to take a lot of money and a lot of people. I mean, even though Moses was rich, God made him rich. Nonetheless, it's going to take a lot of money and a lot of people go all over the world, discover every single fish that existed for him to know that. Right? Again, just as a side point, that would be a good proof to say that there's no possible way he could have known that. Right? So you have to say that God, that this has to be a divine book. You wouldn't know that. And if there's any other exceptions, the Torah says there are no other exceptions. There are no other exceptions of certain animals that have one kosher symbol and not the other. There are only a handful, right? Certain types of rabbits, a pig, a camel. If there would be other exceptions, then you say the Torah is not true, but there aren't. And again, you'd have to ask the question, how does Moses know that? I mean, if he was Dr. Doodle and he talk with the animals, very good, but he's only in a certain area. You want to tell me the world was a lot smaller back then? Okay. Still, he would have gone all over the world to rediscover or discover all these places all over the world. How in the world are you going to know that? Impossible. Right? Certainly impossible. That'd be a good proof that God wrote it here. And one of the few animals who, if by choice, they never defecate or urinate near the food or water supply. I don't know if that matters. I don't know if that makes any difference at all. Right? He's telling you. So, all these other animals that the Torah says you're not allowed to eat, what's the common denominator? Common denominator is they're carnivore. we don't eat carnivore. Jews don't eat carnivores. Why not? Because the Gemara says it's going to have an effect on your soul. Doesn't mean you're going to all of a sudden start, chasing people doing other things, but it has an effect. Someone's going to say, come on, science never proven it. Okay. A lot of things science hasn't proven. Doesn't mean it's not true. Right? That's a possible answer. Right? The Gemara says that's one of the reasons. Doesn't say it's the only reason. It says it also dulls the spirit. It has an effect. It has an effect on the Jewish soul. And a non-Jewish soul doesn't have an effect. Right? So that's the obvious question. If it doesn't have an effect on a non-Jewish soul, why did a non-Jew do it? That's what the Kuyakar says. Why would he do it? It doesn't have an effect. Someone says, oh, come on, but if you're forced in that community or whatever, in that society, and that's what they do, okay. Yeah. But it doesn't have an effect either way. So if you do it, you do it. But if someone's going to do it today, say, I want to identify with the Jewish people, that doesn't apply to you. Keeping kosher doesn't apply. Right? So the Kuyakar says, why would a non-Jew do it? It has no connection to them. It's like eating a placebo. You're eating a sugar pill. Very good. It doesn't have any effect. Doesn't do anything. Right? Say, but I want to eat clean animals according to the Torah, but it doesn't affect you. If it doesn't affect you, and that's the reason, let's say that's the reason that we don't eat these other type of animals, because that's a negative effect. Why would a non-Jew do it? That's exactly what the Kuyakar says. So if a society did it, okay, so do it. Right? So you can do it. Does it have a spiritual effect on a non-Jew? No. Doesn't have any effect. If a Jew eats this garbage, what happens? He becomes apathetic. He doesn't want to hear about Torah mitzvahs. It's much harder for him to hear Torah mitzvahs. It has an effect on the soul. A non-Jew doesn't have an effect, doesn't do anything. Yeah, so if that's the case, again, if that's the case, why is a non-Jew going to do it? Now that's the question. Someone asked, person who has been a conversion from a Muslim Jewish community. Yeah. Do you consult with the rabbis there in order to complete the conversion? Yeah. Yeah, they can definitely be in contact with me, no question. And if so, do I also contact the rabbinical court? No, I don't normally do that. Themselves, they can contact them, and the rabbinical court can be in contact with me. Right? That I will do for sure. But will I speak to the people there that are going to help in the conversion? Sure. Yeah. We'll work hand in hand, right, to help finish the conversion, 100%. Somebody asked, Adam get to recycle into a new body or not? Seemingly not. Seemingly he was in his body, right? He was in his body, God's greatest creation, right? But it doesn't seem like he went into another body. I mean, why would we assume he went into another body, right? He died, right? Seemingly he died. So he died, the soul went out, right? But he was, you have to understand, he was the greatest of God's creation. So he was almost like a spiritual entity in a body, right? It was almost like a pure soul in the body. But essentially, he's in the body, right? So if it's in the body, why would there be assumption went to another body? People don't go into other bodies unless they die and they come back, right? It's a reincarnated soul. And that's only because God gives them another chance. Doesn't give every soul another chance. But even if he would have given them another chance to come back, right? You have to read the Sefer Gilgulim, right? It's a book on reincarnated souls according to the Torah by by the Arizal, By Zakuri of blessed memory. I've never read it. It's never been translated. But one of my rabbis, very much steeped in Kabbalah, said, you have to have a lot of fear of heaven when you read this book. Because, when you see what's going on behind the scenes, like whose soul is who and what they're doing right now, yeah, you could have, you gotta have a lot of fear. Have a lot of fear of heaven. So I guess the question is, did he move to another body? Not that I know of. Someone says we need to adjust to the Torah and not bend, right, for it to fit us, right? Right. And that's what I said. I said, Shabbos is Shabbos. If Shabbos comes in, you got to be ready, one way or another, right? If you're a Jew, right? So it's like, oh, I can never do that. Well, again, you're 100% right. It's not fitting Shabbos into your life. It's the other way around, right? Your life is to fit into Shabbos, right? That's the way it goes, right? There's nothing to do. Shabbos comes in, you got to be ready. And Shabbos comes in early because it's the winter, and Shabbos can come in very early, so you got to make adjustments. And if a person works, they got to get off early. And what if the boss won't let you? So then you got to find a job that will let you. That's what you have to do eventually. Person wants to be a Jew, you're not going to have a choice. Can't work on Shabbos, right? If a person, let's say, is a doctor on call, or they have to do rounds or whatever, okay, pikuach nefesh, saving lives, okay, right? But in general, you can't work on Shabbos. Finish. Can't work on festival, right? So September, October, we have to know when the holidays come out. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, first days, last days. Right? It's like I told someone they had an appointment the first day of Sukkot. They weren't Jewish, so it didn't really matter, but they were like so mortified. How could it be? They didn't know the date. I told them to buy a Jewish calendar. So how can you not have a Jewish calendar? I said, but I can't change it. I said, okay, so I can't change it. But don't you know in September and probably October, most years, the holidays come out one way or another. At least Sukkot will be sometime the end of September, beginning of October, something like that. Don't you know that's when it's going to come out? I mean, person's been in the conversion process for many years. How do you not know that? How do you not remember that? Okay, a person can forget, they're not whatever. You make an appointment and you have to be there. You better darn well make sure it's not on that day, because you're stuck otherwise. And if it's not because never saving lives, you can't be there. No, you're not allowed to do it. You find someone else to do it. In this case, they couldn't. They had to be there. So I told them, which I don't think they like my answer, but I told them straight out, go buy yourself a Jewish calendar. That's what you got to do. You have to know when the holidays are. You don't even have to buy a Jewish calendar. You can go online. Very easy to find a Jewish calendar. Very, very easy. Yeah. You go online, Jewish calendar, it'll tell you when all the holidays are. Very easy. Passover, same thing. Passover can be at the end of March, could be in the middle of April or beginning of April. So during those times, first days, last days, you can't work. You can, intermediate days, different issue. But the first days and the last days, you cannot work. It's forbidden. 100% forbidden. So you have to take those days off. Right? But again, whether Shabbos comes in early or it comes in late, you got to be ready. And person works, you got to get off early. That's just it. I have written letters for some people that have said, come on, you're not even Jewish. Right? I love that answer. You're not even Jewish. Like there's secular Jews don't even take off time. Okay. Yeah, so what? So written letters for people saying that, they want to be an Orthodox Jew, they can't work on Shabbos, so they have to leave early. Right? Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't work. And they have to find another job. Also not so easy, but that's what's going to have to be done at some point. It doesn't have to be done today, tomorrow, or the next day, but it has to be done at some point. Someone asked, can a human soul get changed by some kind of experience? No. No, the reason is because the soul itself, first of all, at least according to Kabbalah, I can't say about other things, a soul will not fathom what it's here for in the body. Now, someone will take me to task and say, come on, if someone's put under deep hypnosis, they can know what their previous lives, what they went through. So I'll tell you what Kabbalah says, because someone explained this to me once, that at least someone, very much deep in Kabbalah, knowing what they're talking about. And that is that a soul will never, there's no deja vu. Deja vu is not a Jewish concept. Yeah, it sounds like a bad Nightmare on Elm Street movie. Yeah, Freddy Krueger back in the day. Yeah, you're not going to remember, like you're in this dream. It's like, oh, I was here before, or, it could be like someone walks into a room and they're like, what am I doing here? Like, how did I get here? Why am I here? But you're never, the soul, at least while a person's awake. Under deep hypnosis could be, it's not a contradiction of Kabbalah. Could be. If a person is not awake, maybe their past lives can come out if they're under deep hypnosis. Okay. Right? I don't know if that's contradiction or not. Right? Certainly it was explained to me, according to Kabbalah, if you're awake, your soul will, there's no deja vu. It'll never sense anything while it's in the body. never sense anything in this world. So the question is, can a human soul get changed by some kind of experience? And the answer is no, will not be changed. No deja vu, won't get spooked like it's been here before. Not while it's in the body. Now, when a person dies, where's the soul go before it gets judged? It goes to places that it knows in this world. Goes back to where it used to live. Goes back to his parents' house. I don't know. Goes back to, goes back to places that it knows. Yeah. But at that point, it's not in the body. Right? So we'll be very specific here. Can a human soul, if it's in the body, it will not change, will not be moved anything, no deja vu. Don't pass go, don't collect 200, right? No deja vu. Deja vu, not a Jewish concept. Someone asks, sometimes person needs to adjust the level of observance for other reasons, right? That woman's going to cover their neck, it says in Gemara, but don't as much because people think I am Muslim. I'll tell you like this. People saying that, they think it's crazy, that let's say it's very, very hot outside. Let's say it's, 38 degrees Fahrenheit, like over 100 degrees, right? It's over 100 degrees. So people say, come on, how could you walk outside? How could a woman, walk outside, all covered up, even wearing stockings, right? Or thigh highs, right? Right? That the halacha is from the knee down, it's Torah obligation. Many say it's Torah obligation, has to be covered. Yeah. So some people would say, no, it's a rabbinic obligation, whatever. Some women don't cover their legs, right? Underneath the skirt. Okay, maybe they wear socks or short socks or whatever, but really you should wear thigh highs or stockings. But someone will say that's insane. If it's that hot, how could a person do that? Yeah. So, or they'll say to me, how in the world do you go outside when it's that hot? You have a hat and a jacket. Said, it must be really hot. I said, yeah, it is. I said, it's hot. Yeah. So I said, it can't be like God wants you to sweat that much, right? You should be able to wear, a tank top and shorts, right? So I said, all right, let me ask. I got in trouble for saying this. I can't imagine people are going to be shocked by this. But I said, if someone works on Wall Street, probably the same today. I don't know. I could be wrong, right? If you work on Wall Street in New York, anyone doesn't know where Wall Street is, New York City, you work on Wall Street, you're going to wear a 3-piece suit or a 2-piece suit, double-breasted, not double-breasted, right? So I told someone, I said, why do people dress that way? And not only that, what's the first thing they're going to do when they get home? Either turn on the TV or take off their clothes, right? Obviously, they want to get their clothes dirty, whatever. But why are they doing it? Why are they dressing up for work in this case? Why they're dressing up? For money. That's why they're dressing up, because that's the dress code. They're dressing up. Some places have, more stringent dress codes, less stringent dress codes. For this person, I could see like smoke coming out of their ears. Right? I said they're doing it for money. Why else are they doing it? That's the dress code. Double-breasted, not double-breasted suit. That's the dress code. So the person said, so why do you dress the way you do? I said, because that's the uniform God wants me to wear. Oh, they don't like that. I said, I wear it wherever I go. Yeah. That's some people maybe more casual. Let's say they go food shopping or whatever. So they won't necessarily wear a jacket and hat. Okay. Some do, some don't, but, I had ingrained in me, you go out, you want to be in front of, you're standing, in the world, God's in front of you. Should look appropriate, no matter what you're doing. No matter you're shopping, doing this, okay, my wife would always say, we go on a, I think we go on a trip during Chol Moed, during intermediate days. And people, you go to a park, whatever, people dress maybe a little more casual. Let's say, they're out and about, but the halacha is you really should be dressed, it's really like a festival. So you got to be dressed up. Yeah. You got to be dressed up like it's Shabbos, like it's a festival. Now again, person can say, okay, let's say you go in hiking. Okay. So you're not going to wear your best clothes to go hiking. Okay. Yeah. I can understand. You go to a park, my wife will say, I can always spot you. Not a problem. But everyone's dressed to kill. Okay. But like, you go outside, you be dressed appropriately. So I said, I do it for God. Okay, so there are different communities. I spoke about this last week, how people dress, right? The more modern Orthodox community, they won't dress that way. They won't wear a hat and a jacket. They wear colored shirts, colored pants, whatever, right? They'll dress a certain way. In the ultra Orthodox community, most people dress the same. Some have longer coats, shorter coats, but most of the time, most people wearing white shirts and black pants without pinstripes, dark blue pants without pinstripes, gray, that's about it. I mean, maybe Chabad dress a little bit different, right? Maybe. They don't always wear black and white, per se, like a white shirt. Sometimes wear colorful shirts also, but okay. Either way, it's on dress code. So I said that dress code is because that's what God wants. I said you feel different, when you're all dressed up, and then if you're wearing, let's say, khaki pants or cotton pants or whatever, right, for a guy, you feel different. Feel different if you're in a t-shirt or you're in a shirt or you're in shorts. Yeah. So if a person has, let's say, work clothes, you're working around the house, okay. Yeah. So I remember when I had certain clothes I had South America, I lost a lot of my suits. One bag lost a lot of my suits. So I had to buy some suits. I had to say in my broken Spanish, sin lana, without wool, because I had no place to check it for shotness. Not allowed to wear wool and linen together. So finally, I got to the States and, bought a few suits. Anytime my kids saw me, wearing these clothes, like, oh, you're working around the house, you're doing something else, yeah, because you don't want to get these other things ruined. So, a person that's work clothes, that's one thing, right? But, so you're working outside, you can wear work clothes, not a problem. It's not an issue. But I would say, other places, again, this is me, not everyone, would necessarily say that, but if you're out and about, you should dress the way you should. Yeah. There are people dressed more casual. Okay, you say it's a different generation. Younger generation doesn't necessarily do that. Doesn't mean they're not religious. They just don't necessarily wear a hat and jacket wherever they go. For prayers, they will. Okay. Yeah. Very good. So I'm not necessarily into externals, per se. There are people that, let's say, don't dress that way, don't talk the talk and walk the walk, but they might be more religious than other people that do. So, but you want to identify with the community. Right? A person wants to move to a community. You want, if there are different communities within one community, okay. Right. But if you're part of one community, let's say, a person will go to Lakewood, New Jersey, let's say. Yeah, a person would go live there. So that community is a black hat community. Certain places in, in New York and Brooklyn and other places, Muncie, whatever. Yeah, they're black hat communities. So you're not going to dress more casual. You won't fit in. Right. If there are other communities within the community, okay. So then, that's a different issue. But, you're not gonna buck the system, so to speak, because, at the very least, you want to fit in, to a community. So again, people say, but it's external. Okay. It's external. But even if it's external, you still want to fit in. This is the way people dress. Yeah. You don't want to go outside that. Just stick out in other ways. Fine. You don't want to stick out, more than you have to. There's a difference. Someone wears, let's say, someone wears bright yellow shirts. Guy wear, bright yellow, pink, even. Kind of sticks out. Definitely sticks out. Now, technically, is there really anything wrong? I wouldn't say there's not really anything wrong. You don't want to draw attention to yourself, right? Men can also do that, right? But at the same time, okay, you want to dress the way the community you identify dresses, and if it's a mixed bag, so then you have a choice. But you want to identify. Person has kids, you're gonna you want to send them to a place and identify with that, with that place, and how they dress and what they do, so to speak. Yeah, let me see other questions here. One second. Should I study Torah when I'm not in a good mood? I would think if a person's not in a good mood, studying Torah is a good thing. But if you're not in a good mood, Yeah, probably best not to, right? I would say probably best probably best not to, because then, let's say you're learning something that's hard, or even if it's not so hard, but you don't enjoy it and you're in a bad mood. So like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't, right? Maybe it's gonna take away, then it'll give you a bad taste in your mouth. Right. That's what I would say on that. Um let me see here. Whoops. Um Somebody asks, what about people who tell their non-Jewish neighbors to operate their lights on Shabbos even though it's still forbidden? Ah, using a Shabbos coin. So if so first of all, I can't tell them directly, do it. Telling them, these are very complex halachas, by the way. It's what we call a mirlock. I'm telling a non-Jew to do something for you on Shabbos. You cannot tell them directly to do it. If it's indirect, I bring an non-Jew over and say, "Wow, it's dark in here," and they figure it out. You didn't tell them; they could turn on the lights. Now, in general, if they would turn on the lights directly for you, that's a problem, unless they're getting benefit themselves, right? But this is not not so simple. Not so simple. There are places that have known Shabbos goys, meaning that they're not Jewish and they know, like, if there's a problem, they come in, come and take care of it, right? So the question would be, why is that not an issue, right? Why is that not an issue? First of all, you're not necessarily telling them what to do, but the reality is they're going to do it anyway, right? That's what they're doing. They're there to help you. They're 100% there to help you. So if they're there to help you, yeah, so it's not forbidden unless you directly tell them, to do something. Telling them directly is forbidden. So you asked me the question, right? You asked me the question, and that is, one second. That is, what about if they tell their non-Jewish neighbors to operate the lights? Again, if they're doing it in a way that's permissible, then it's not a problem. If they're doing it in a way which is forbidden, again, these laws are complex. You can't just tell a non-Jew to do it in general. Yeah, it has to be done in a way that they're not told directly. Even if they figure it out and say, "Oh, it needs me to turn on the lights." Since you're not telling them, directly, but also has to have a purpose here. I remember there was a question that whatever, it was a hot afternoon, and synagogue's air conditioning stopped. So they want to get an non-Jew to turn it on. Someone said, why should you be allowed to do it? Shabbos only over in a few more minutes, right? Maybe a couple hours. So you could say, well, synagogue's a different thing because it's a public place. And because it's a public place, that, maybe have a non-Jew, do it, So, it has to be a real, a real usage. Important thing, like, something like on Shabbos can't live without. I think people abuse it. I think they have a non-Jew there, let's say, and I think a lot of people don't know the laws properly. Because they don't know the laws properly, say, "Come on, I can tell them what to do," indirectly. Yeah, but if they don't know the laws properly, they'll transgress. So you'll tell me, how can they do it if they're telling them, if you're telling them in a way it's a hint, then that's fine, right? If let's say a person's electricity went off, so you don't know why it went off. So non-Jew comes over, right? So you have the Shabbos goy, he comes over, he starts flicking all the circuits, right? All the circuits, see which one's the problem. Yeah. Now, let's say they figure out which one's the problem, then they turn on the electricity. Yeah. So if you have someone in the community that does that, and basically they're going to get paid to do it, after Shabbos or whatever, right? It's part of their job, let's say, okay. Let's say it's not the case. Let's say you just, you ask a neighbor, right? If you know what you're doing, you do it in an indirect way, okay. Right? But it's got to be a need. It can't be just like, something minor, just, you want to flick a switch or whatever. It's just inconvenient. Yeah, it has to be a real need. It has to be a real need. But these laws, as we said, is complex. So if a person doesn't really know what they're doing, they will transgress. 100%. 100% they'll transgress. Right? If they tell them in a way that's forbidden, yeah, then they can't do it. That's forbidden. Right? Then it would be forbidden. So if you're going to tell me if they do it in a forbidden way, how can they do it? They can't. Right? That's the easy answer. They can't. It's forbidden. Someone here says, what are European animals already were in Egypt by Exodus? I don't know about that. Potentially, he knew about them as well. He knew about all of them. Why did he know about all of them? I'm just saying, impossible. Maybe there were some of them that were there. Okay. Yeah. I'll entertain that possibility. Right? Maybe there were some of the animals there. Not all of them. Right? Definitely not all of them. Right? I don't think there's any question not all of them were there. Right? So even if some were there, okay. Or let's say a lot of them were there, but he still didn't know. How was he going to know the other animal? If they weren't part of that area. How in the world? You wouldn't know. It's impossible for him to know. Far out countries, how they made it to Egypt. How they made it to where he was. They're far out. There's no possible way he could have known. Right? That's the point. Someone asked on the Adam part was considering reincarnation. I don't know. That's not yeah. Did all reincarnation fall into a previous life? Did all reincarnation fail? They didn't fulfill what they were supposed to do in this world. So yeah, so they failed at some level, and God gave them an opportunity to come back and fix it. Come back and fix whatever they messed up. Yeah, the only problem, even with that, the person says, or the soul says, okay, give me another chance so I won't blow it. Right? Give me another chance. Very good. The only problem is the soul doesn't know when it gets put into the body what it's doing there. That's kind of hard. Right? Even if the soul, again, we hold that the soul can come back either, someone explained to me once, either 3 times or potentially 4 times. Right? The soul can come back. Now, this is probably the last time the soul is here. Now, even if that's true, when the soul goes in the body, God puts the soul in the body, that soul will not remember what it's doing here. So how's it going to figure it out? How's it going to get its final tikkun, its final fixing up or whatever it did wrong? How is that going to happen if it doesn't know? Because nobody knows. Right? So the answer we always give, and I'm not saying it's the answer, but someone's explained to me, we want to reach potential. How do we know what our potential is? How do we know what we're supposed to fix? So someone was explaining to me, imagine there's something in your life you would not want to do. You'd rather switch your eyeballs with glass than do it, right? Something you just totally diametrically opposed to do, right? Something really hard, almost impossible for you to do. Someone explained it could be something that's like very hard for a person to do. Maybe that's what they're here to fix. Maybe. Not a guarantee. Person, I don't know, they have difficulty thanking people for what they did for them. They have difficulty saying please and thank you. I don't know. Something that like they just don't do. Not only they don't do, it's like very hard for them to do. Extremely hard for them to do. I'm not gonna say impossible, it's not impossible, but like, if a soul goes in the body second time, yeah, it's not gonna be something God's gonna put in the soul and say, okay, this person, they're gonna get it in a snap. right? They're going to make it, I'm going to make it very easy for them so they can fix it up and have their proper portion of the world to come. That's not going to be the case. Yeah. You know what they say? Anything that's too easy is not worthwhile. They're not going to make it easy. For sure, not going to make it easy. Now, it's going to be something that's going to be hard to do. Definitely something that's going to be hard to do. Yeah. Again, is that the only criteria? I'm not saying it's the only criteria. Definitely not the only criteria, but that's what someone once explained to me. So the question is, okay, did all reincarnates fail? Yeah. At some level, they failed. They failed in what they were supposed to do in this world. So therefore, they have to come back. Or they're given the opportunity to come back, let's say. Some don't come back. I would say some don't come back. But, some are definitely given the opportunity to come back, fix it up. Is it the bodies of the soul? Nope. Other way around. The soul needs to be in a body. The soul, as I understand it, I mean, you're not talking like such a huge entity here, even in spiritual terms. Yeah, so the soul is relatively small compared to the body. Yeah, some say it's by the ankle, some say it's by other places, but like it's relatively small. So it's the soul that goes in the body, not the other way around. I mean, that's what the Torah says, very clear. The Torah says in the beginning of Genesis, it says God breathed in the spirit of life, meaning he created a body, and he put the soul in the body. Not the other way around. Soul goes in the body. Somebody asks, what is the law that forbids turning on lights? So there's a question on Shabbos and festivals about electricity. What the category, there are 39 categories forbidden to be done on Shabbos. 39. 3 are explicitly mentioned in the Torah, right? Don't kindle a fire, don't carry, don't cook, right? But there are 36 others that are learned out from what was done in the tabernacle, right? Juxtaposition of verses, because Rashi says, I think in Exodus chapter 37, we're talking beginning parts of Vayakhel, that the Torah mentions about keeping Shabbos. But you just had a whole bunch of chapters speaking about building tabernacle, all the loops and all the boards and and all that. Then the Torah comes and tells me you have to keep Shabbos. Makesher. What's the connection? So Rashi says, and others say juxtaposition of verses is just like, this is out of order. Shabbos, I already know. Exodus 18, 19, 20. You don't need to tell me to keep Shabbos. Oh, the fact that it's juxtaposed to the verse of the Mishkan, it must be that whatever is done in the Mishkan does not, in the tabernacle, does not supersede Shabbos. Will not supersede Shabbos. So therefore, anything was done in the tabernacle forbidden to do on Shabbos. And all those things were done in the tabernacle, Torah prohibition. Anything that's an offshoot of that, right, that a person may come and forget that it's Shabbos and they may do a worse prohibition, that also became forbidden, right? Anything that's an offshoot that might be similar but not exactly the same. So the last generation, we had electricity, so that was a whole discussion. Is flicking a switch on Shabbos for electricity, i.e., is that forbidden? Is that considered something under one of the 39 categories? So there's a difference of opinion what it is. Some people want to say that is like kindling a fire. Others say no, it's like building or destroying, right? In different ways. Bottom line is, the question is, what's the category? What category does it come under? That's a difference of opinion among rabbinic authorities. But everybody agrees, regardless of why, at least in the Orthodox world, everyone agrees, regardless of what category it comes under, everybody agrees it's forbidden. Now, you might ask, well, so what's the reason? What's the reason? People say flick a switch doesn't do anything. It's not considered what we call avoida. It's not considered like work, so to speak. Now, if I wanted to, I'd be stupid for doing it, go against my 614th commandment and don't be stupid. If I wanted to, I could take my sofa or my what do you call it? My dining room table, and I can move it back and forth all Shabbos. I wouldn't transgress anything except for being stupid. No transgression. It's not a lot of work. Yeah, but that's not the definition here. Right here, it's either I'm creating something, I'm destroying something, putting something into action. So you say, but I flick a switch, not doing anything. Right. So what's the simple answer? Take off the plastic of your outlet. Right. Take off the plastic, take a screwdriver, stick it straight in. So I wouldn't do that. Why not? So what do you mean? I said, you're not doing anything. Oh, you turn on the switch, off the switch. So there's nothing going on over there. So what are you talking about? The electric current. If I do that, I stick something metal in there, I'll get zapped. Oh, but you're not doing anything. It's not about work over here, about creating something or turning something off. A person thinks, oh, you walk a mile to synagogue, I'm driving a car, you're doing more work than me. Again, that's not the definition. But even a person starts the car, right, will make it easy. Right, a regular car, not an electric car. Yeah, you start that engine, you're creating a fire every second. Torah prohibition. Torah prohibition. Person can say, but that's the only way I can get to synagogue. So if you're a Jew, you got a problem, so you don't go to synagogue. You don't go to synagogue. Right? You don't go to synagogue. Period. Right? So turning on lights, again, is going to come under one of the prohibitions of the laws of Shabbos. Right? How's it not transferring? I'm not talking about carrying. It doesn't come under the category of carrying. I never said it came under the category of carrying. It's either kindling a fire, similar to kindling a fire, which a lot of rabbinic authorities disagree. They say either it's or it's building or destroying in some way. Right? It's not carrying. It has nothing to do with carrying. It has nothing to do with carrying. A car is a different issue, traveling. Right? Traveling is a different issue. Right? Could a person get in a car with a non-Jew driving it? It's a good question. You're not driving. Right? But non-Jew's doing all the action. He's doing it for you. So so that'd be a whole question. But lighting the thing itself, turning the car on itself, be forbidden. Right? Not necessarily, if you were doing it, carrying yourself through the car, yeah, maybe. But that's not the category it comes under. Right? Category for a car, if it wouldn't be an electric car, let's say, right, would be certainly kindling a fire. But even if you didn't have even if it was an electric car, same thing. You're making a current go on and on. Even if it doesn't automatically turn it this, that, same thing. Right? Same thing. So there's a question over here, what category comes under. That's right. That is the question. But again, turn on, flipping the switch has nothing to do with carrying. Right? Being in a car might be a different issue. Right? But that itself wouldn't be that issue. Somebody asked, each person is given two names. One from the Kedusha side, one from the back side, or from the Klippa side, and our job is to know or find the names. I'm not answering Kabbalistic questions. Yeah, non-kosher animals also get their life energy from the backside of Kedusha. Again, I'm not answering that. You can go somewhere else for those questions. I don't answer those questions. And those aren't questions you really should be asking either. Right? If you're holding by Kabbalah, you'll tell me. I don't think you're holding by Kabbalah. Learn the Aleph base first. Learn Tanakh first. Learn Chumash first. The other stuff comes from the backside of Kedusha, of holiness, or it doesn't. Who cares? What relevance does that have to anything? Right? Don't study calculus unless you know algebra, trigonometry. You can't learn how to walk before you learn how to, before you know how to crawl. Right? Or you can't know how to run before you learn how to walk or crawl. Right? These questions have no relevance here. None. Right? You want to learn Kabbalah, go learn Kabbalah, but it ain't going to be here. That I can tell you. Yeah. Any other questions? Let me see one thing here. Let's see. So lighting a fire electricity might be similar to that. Driving a car involves combustion, turn on a light switch. Oh, the light switch The light bulb gives out both light and heat, some of their mentions. So really, it could be considered like fire. Yeah, opening a fridge or a car door causes the light to go on. Appliances powered by electricity, right? They do things that are forbidden. Stoves and microwaves, right? Even if you turn it on, what's it going to do? It's going to cook. Running hot water, right? Hot water tap on Shabbos. Cold water causes to enter the hot water tank, right? If this is what you have. Water then is turned into, is heated. That's bishul. That's cooking. Yeah, operating a printer, again, is writing, right? Will be considered writing. So even though it's forbidden to operate appliances, right, that's, let's say they don't involve any specific type of category here, let's say electric fan, clocks, or CD players, again, also would be forbidden. Now, fan, if you had it on already, you can move it. That's less of an issue, right? That's certainly less of an issue. Let's say a heater might be a problem because you can't really move it, not allowed to move it. But a fan, you'd be allowed to. Some say that the appliance is completing the electric circuit. That is like building, right? That's the one a building, as we said. Or if it's connected to wall sockets, considered built into the house. All right, even that's battery operated, same thing, right? Because it's considered to be built as a completed appliance. And building on Shabbos is Torah prohibition. So again, this would be similar. Well, it's not exactly the same, but it'd be similar. So according to that, though, if it's considered like building, right, then it would be a Torah prohibition. Then potentially would be a Torah prohibition. Some say that's forbidden prohibition of molding, creating, even though it's not a subcategory, right? It's not a subcategory per se. It's still forbidden because it actually does something to create something, right? So if you're creating something, it's also forbidden. If you melted ice, let's say just left ice out to melt, that would be forbidden, right? Because again, you're creating water in that sense. Creating, if you create a circuit, you complete a circuit, that's creating, right? That's certainly significant. Certainly significant. But if it's turned on before Shabbos, right? It could be. There could be a question over here whether I'm allowed to use it, right? Let's say a person boiled water in an urn before Shabbos. Yeah, so I'm allowed to use it. Some say, though, if you drain water completely, it would break the appliance, right? So you're not going to obviously take out all the water, right? But if it's on, let's say, it's on a button that's just keeping the heat in there, same heat, so that's not a problem. You can't add water to it, but it's keeping it at the same temperature. So if you take it out, it's not making it hotter or whatever. So that wouldn't be a problem. So certain things that were done before Shabbos, that would be okay. There's an issue. There would be an issue, let's say, with something like what do you call it? A timer. Can I use a timer? So timer, Moshe Feinstein says you're only allowed to use the Torah giant for the last generation America, no question. Timer can only be used for lights. Can't be used for anything else. Can't be used for an air conditioner, can't be used for a fridge. Other people, other rabbinic authorities disagree. They say that, could be used for that. If it's not done through your action, even if it's done the fact that you programmed it, doesn't matter before Shabbos, right? Not an issue. Not an issue. Moshe Feinstein holds no. Moshe Feinstein holds it's only permissible. It's only permissible for lights. Can only turn on and off lights, no other appliances. Trimming hair ain't considered cutting hair. Why not? If I take a scissors, not electric. If I take a scissors and I cut like this, am I cutting something from the source? Cutting something from the source. That's cutting, right? That would be considered cutting. That would be forbidden, right? If I use electric, it's worse. But I'm saying if I use the scissors, right? Or if I pull it out myself, even better. You're taking something out from where it grew, right? That would be forbidden. right? Uprooting plants or other things would be a similar thing, but plucking here comes underneath that, may come underneath that category. Either may come under that category of taking something from something that grew from the ground, or you're cutting, which would be, in that sense, would be forbidden. So again, I don't necessarily need an instrument to do that. If a person, some people, I don't know, some people that have a beard, they, sometimes they, they pull it out. They'll pull some straggly here. They'll pull it out. That would be forbidden, right? Even if you do it with your hands. Or if a person, let's say, had a what's it called, a loose button, right? And, you rip it, right? Same thing, right? It would come underneath that, that category. So yeah, some of these things can be, confusing. The question is, which category it is going to come under. But there is a difference of opinion again about about electricity, whether it comes from, it's like you're creating a circuit, you're finishing, that's like building, or you tell me it's no different than like creating a fire, right? Whatever, it's different categories, right? But others say also, regardless of what category it is, right? Others would say the problem is it's like you are, it's like you're taking Shabbos lightly, right? It's like you're scoffing and walking, at Shabbos. You're gonna say, come on, it's an everyday activity. It's an everyday activity. Someone flicks a switch. Okay. It's an everyday activity. Shabbos is supposed to be different. I shouldn't be around just flicking on and off switches, regardless of what category it comes under. Right? It could be, it's what we call it, Zilzal and Shabbos. It's like you're not taking Shabbos seriously. It's like flicking on and off switches. Now, I would agree. Someone would say, come on, you're not doing anything. Flicking, again, it has nothing to do with whether it's heavy labor, not heavy labor. You're going to say it doesn't do anything, but it's not true. Right? If you know how the circuit works and you turn it off or you turn it on, so either I'm creating something or I'm not, right? Or I'm doing the opposite. So creating on Shabbos is a problem, the problem in general. So if it's a problem on general, this will come either, again, maybe it'll come under that because it's attached to the house. So it's like you're creating. You're going to say, but it's not exactly the same. Okay, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not exactly the same. Some say it's similar enough, but it might be a Torah prohibition. Might be a Torah prohibition, according to some. Others would agree that, yeah, it's probably a rabbinic prohibition. And even if it's a rabbinic prohibition, which category does it come under? That is, that is the question. What about non-Jews who keep Shabbos not in the correct way, but they keep some part of it? Now, if they're in the process of conversion, they have to learn how to keep Shabbos, right? So they're allowed to keep Shabbos as long as they do something, right? As long as they do something on purpose to break it. So that they're allowed to do. Now, if a non-Jew is not going to convert, they're going to stay as a Noahide, very good, right? If they're going to stay as a Noahide, so if they decide they are going to refrain from doing certain categories of the 39 categories, that is a problem. The reason that is a problem is because that's what Jews do. So that would be a problem. That'd be like making up a new religion. If they're in the process of conversion, for sure, they should be allowed to keep it, but obviously they have to do something on purpose to break it. Now, even if they know they're going to make 150,000 different mistakes, that's fine. The problem is you have to do something on purpose to break it, i.e., turn on a light a match, start your car, turn on your computer, something, rip something, I don't know, something on purpose that breaks Shabbos to show you're not keeping it like a Jew. That would be okay. Right? Again, it can't be something you did by accident. It's got to be something 100% forbidden. Yeah. Then you're showing you're not keeping it as a Jew. right? But if you're a non-Jew and you're doing that and you're refraining from certain categories, that's a problem. That's a problem. So we always say, if you're going to stay a non-Jew, stay a non-Jew. Do not straddle both worlds, right? Either going to be in one world or the other, right? You can't straddle both worlds. So if you're not going to convert, which is no obligation to convert, if you're not going to convert, very good. So, refraining from certain categories would be forbidden, because that's what Jews do. That's making up a new religion. If you're in the process of conversion, very good. So then you'd be allowed to keep Shabbos. You have to know how to keep Shabbos, obviously, but you have to do something on purpose to break it. And the reason is because a non-Jew that keeps Shabbos is liable for death penalties. You can't do that, right? You can't keep it exactly like a Jew. Festival, same thing, right? You do something on purpose to break it. That gets you out of the problem, right? That gets you out of the problem. But again, if you're a non-Jew, I would say that, yeah, you're doing it. It doesn't apply to you, right? So if it doesn't apply, you're not going to start taking on and saying, "Oh, I'm not going to do this category or that category," even if it's a couple categories, doesn't matter. That's like making up a new religion. Some of their mentions, even though they live in the desert, right? It's really hard. They've been made fun of just for being covered up. Okay, yeah, it's people say, "Come on, it's a little bit weird. Like, why in the world are you dressing up? If it's like so hot." Okay. You know what they say, in the winter, you can always, if it's cold, you can always add layers, right? If you're cold, very good. You can always put on different layers. In summer, or when it's hot, there's only so many layers you can take off. So, modesty is modesty, even when it's hot, right? That is something that, people can't wrap their heads around. Why don't you just the way you dress the way you want? It's gone to the way you dress the way you want, and it's certainly not good for women. I would say that also. And it's very simple. You dress a certain way. People are going to look at you. Men are going to look at you. You're going to say, "Well, it's the guy's fault," right? 100%. It's the guy's fault. So what? So for a Jew, they dress in a provocative way. They transgress a Torah prohibition of putting a stumbling block in front of people. Because, hey, it's not my fault. This guy looked. Okay. He shouldn't be looking, right? But he shouldn't be dressing in certain ways. It's going to cause him to look. Now, even if she was all covered up and the guy looks, it's also transgressing. She doesn't transgress here. She doesn't transgress of putting a stumbling block in front of him, right? But there are halachas here. And it's disservice, I think, 100% for women dressed the way they do, in a provocative way. Because I can dress the way, my body's my body. I can do what I want. I can dress the way I want. Okay. They give over a certain image. That's just the bottom line. It's just the bottom line. So, guys have to be careful, obviously, not to look, and women have to dress appropriately. But, people will never understand, being from that world, they will never understand why that is. They won't understand why, if it's so hot, you can't be a little more casual. They'll say, okay, you don't have to wear, shorts and a tank top. Yeah, you don't have to dress up like that. They'll never get it, because it just goes against everything they've been taught. I mean, again, it's to their benefit. I'm not saying they were wearing a hijab like Muslims do. I'm not going that far, right? But yeah, elbows have to be covered, neck has to be covered, legs have to be covered, right? Legs have to be covered even if they're wearing a skirt, right? Either with stockings or thigh highs. Now, in a more modern community, women wear short socks. Okay, yeah. But again, there are many rabbinic authorities hold that from the knee down, for a woman that has to be covered, it's Torah prohibition. Torah prohibition. Some say the rabbinical prohibition, some say Torah prohibition. So yeah, more modern communities, women, when it's hot, they do not wear, they may not wear stockings or thigh highs. Yeah, but now the Orthodox community, you won't see that. You never will not see that. You'll see either stockings or thigh highs. Even if it's hot. So it's like someone said, like, come on, if it's really that hot, you're gonna sweat. You're right, I'm gonna sweat. And if I didn't wear a hat and a jacket, it's still gonna sweat. You know, either wear a short sleeve shirt and pants, it's still gonna be hot. Okay, it's gonna be hot. Rather be hot here than the next world. Where it might get hotter, depending where you go. So you're right. But if it's a uniform, that's a uniform. But you feel different the way you dress. That's the whole point. You feel a lot different. I mean, you've heard people give the example, imagine, a person goes to the beach. We know how people dress at the beach, right? We'll keep this clean. We know how people dress at the beach. Very good. Yeah, so imagine the person has guests. Person has guests at their house. Yeah. They have 3 or 4 couples there, let's say. So imagine this guy's wife comes down in a bikini. What's the problem? You dress at the beach that way. What's the problem? Why wouldn't you dress like that? What's the problem? In the house, you wouldn't dress like that. But at the beach, it's okay. That's how everybody dresses. Okay. This is a very good point. Yeah. You would never see someone having other people over that this person's wife is going to be dressed exactly like that. Never happened. I mean, unless you're having I don't know, unless you're having summer barbecue. But even after the summer barbecue, people dress much more casual, t-shirt and shorts. This guy's wife's not coming out in a bikini. Or she just came from the beach. It's just not happening. All right, you wear shorts, you wear something, but she ain't going to dress that way. So I heard somebody say, if you're not going to dress that way there, why dress that way at the beach? Because that's the way everybody dresses. Or doesn't dress. That's the way of the world, but you wouldn't do it in your own house. If you wouldn't do it in your own house, why would you do it there? Good point. But again, what would they answer? They say that's crazy. You're right. Nobody dresses that way in the house. Why not? That's what he's asking. Why not? Even that's the way they dress at the beach. You wouldn't dress that way in your house. If you're not going to dress that way in your house, why dress that way in the beach? Good question. Yeah. But people won't hear it because they'll just think they'll think it's a silly thing. They'll think it's a silly thing. Because that's why people go to the beach. Okay, so, person wants their wife, their spouse exposed to everyone else, can see her. You wouldn't do that in your own house. You shouldn't do it there. Yeah, good point. Somebody asks, is locking and unlocking your house? No. Is that forbidden? No. That's not a problem. Problem is carrying the key. What you do with the key, that's not a problem. But let's say you had an electric lock. That'd be a problem. Let's say you had a what do you call it? You wanted to put on the security system. Live in a dangerous area. You want to put on the security system. Okay. That'd be a problem. Right? Putting it on would be a problem. Turning on your lights. Let's say you open the fridge, the light goes on. You gotta turn the light bulb off. Right? You gotta turn the light bulb off. If the light bulb goes off, you can't close the door, right? Otherwise, turn it off. So it's again, same thing as turning on and off a light. So if you have a what do you call it? If you have a fridge, if you have a fridge that has a light, so you gotta take it out. Either you gotta take it out or tape it shut. Right? So a surveillance system you wouldn't be allowed to turn on. Right? If let's say some people have in their house, let's say they turn on the they have an electric system, a surveillance system. But let's say there's I don't know, infrared eye. You go in and out, cars go on and off. Also an issue. Right? Also you'd be trapped in your own house. Can't go anywhere. Yeah, so that'd also be an issue. You wouldn't be allowed to use it. Right? If a person, had to go into let's say, I don't know, had to go to the hospital, let's say. So okay, pikuach nefesh. Very good, saving life. So yeah, you have to go in the hospital. Can you walk in and the light goes on the door, or something like that, or you have to go in with somebody else. Someone else does it, and you walk in with them. These are issues. Opening and locking the door is not a problem, right? That's not a problem. The problem is you can't carry the key. What are you gonna do with the key, right? That's another issue, right? What are you gonna do with that? So carrying the key is a problem. if you have what do you call it, if you live in an area of, it's a very good, so they can carry it, right? If not, you wouldn't be allowed to carry it. So two ways around the problem. Either you make like a string, like a belt, right? And the key is part of the belt. If you take the key off, then the belt doesn't work, right? Then the belt falls apart. So you can do it that way. That's one way. Another way is they had, I'm sure they still have, person, put on a tie tack, right? They have a tie tack where you can have the exact same size as the key, right? They make it like the shape of the key, right? So you put that on a tie. I don't know if people still wear tie tacks today, but you can put it on your tie, and that's like an adornment, right? It's like clothing. So you stick your key in that. It's another way. Yeah, it's another way. Or a third possibility, right? If you don't have an Eruv, is hide the key somewhere on your property, right? Find a place to hide it where no one sees you put it or whatever, and then you won't have a problem carrying it, right? Then you wouldn't have that. Then you wouldn't have that issue. But over the doors in general, as long as they're not electric, then you shouldn't have a problem. So surveillance system, put it on would be a problem, right? What happens if let's say you have to cross the street? Yeah, you have to cross the street, and by the light, body sense, right? Body sense. So by standing there, if no car's coming, it's going to make the light change quicker. Is that a problem? So that shouldn't be a problem because it's indirect. You're not doing it, in a direct way. Or if like if you walk on the sidewalk, someone's lights are going to go on because you're walking, next to the sidewalk, might be that's a problem, right? That I would say is more direct. But the key in general, that shouldn't be a problem. The question is what you're going to do with the key and how you're going to carry it, right? Or if you're going to carry it, right? So in different scenarios that so if it's not a key, you just lock it. Yeah, it shouldn't be a problem. If you have if you have a combination switch, they don't even need a key, right? So you have a combination switch that works also. That you never have a problem, right? You just use the combination, go in, go out, no key, right? That makes that makes a lot of sense to do. So then you have to worry about carrying keys, right? I've been in the last two apartments I was in. The last apartment I was in also had a a combination. Apartment I'm in now had whatever, just had a key and whatever. Eventually put in a combination. Just not a problem just carrying the key, it's just a problem of remembering to take it and whatever. So like, getting locked out. That wasn't a problem carrying. But yeah, if you have a combination lock, it's a lot easier. So that would solve the problem also. You just put in a combination lock, right? When you put in a combination lock, you have no issues. You can open it, lock it, right? Not an issue. What about auto lights? Ooh. What about them? Let me see. Auto lights without a switch involved. I mean, you're in a car, so it'll also be a problem. So that might be, if that goes on automatic, the fact that you turned it on, still your action, right? Even if it goes on automatic. But what about, what about a person has lights and stuff that go on or off by just making a sound or clapping, right? You have a clapper, right? You go like this and it goes on, or it goes off. So that's still your action. That's still forbidden, right? That would be considered your action, right? Or saying, electric, turn off the lights. You have these things, yeah, turn on the lights, turn them off, turn this on, turn that off. Yeah, that's also a problem because you're doing it directly. That's direct, right? Auto light switch involved in a house. Oh, yeah, that would be an issue because let's say if it works that you walk in a room and now the light goes on automatically. So that's like your action, right? Yeah, got it. So that should be a problem. That should be a problem. So it should be, so that should probably turn off, right? And just, if you can put on a timer, good. If you can't put it on a timer, then, you just leave it on. Whatever lights you want on, most important lights on, so you just leave on. But yeah, going in, if it's an auto sensor, that's a problem. That is a problem. That'd be the same thing, if you're walking by the sidewalk and cause someone's lights to go on, that's more direct, right? That's definitely more direct. Even if Doesn't matter. Even if it's automatic, it's still your action is causing it to go on. So that would be an issue. That would be an issue. I'm so glad I don't have any of these things. It's very simple. Force of culture and language. Yeah. Someone says the culture and language is similar, where they are is similar to the language of Jewish people and culture. And you're proud about this fact. Okay. Then is there anything wrong with your culture being similar? Let's say it is. I don't think it's a problem. I definitely don't think there's an issue. Shouldn't be an issue. Yeah, other questions. All right, I'm going to stop here. I do this every Sunday, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 4 o'clock Israel time. Anyone has any questions, find me on Facebook at Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, orthodoxconversion.com. Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on YouTube. There I got videos on Q&As, ethics of our fathers, Book of Leviticus. You want to send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBI, CHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com, whichever good. Beginning of the day, middle of the day, end of the day. And